Mr. Pantano, what can Congress do to increase and develop domestic production of energy sources?
We need to fire the chairman of the Department of Energy. We need to fire the chairman of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, Martin Yasko, and Stephen Chu. The reason we need to do this is that they have hamstrung our ability to be active in exploration off the coast and here at home. The Senator is correct that environmentalists have hijacked our energy policy and our energy agenda here in America. In North Carolina alone, whether it's in the Piedmont or off the coast, natural gas could allow us to bring down our corporate tax rate, bring down our income tax rate, bring down our gas tax. In Pennsylvania alone, it's created over 140,000 jobs they didn't know that they would have. So natural gas is very exciting. But we have another industry here, right here in this district, the nuclear energy industry. We have a reactor on the coast, very similar to the Fukushima model, and we hold waste there. Why does that matter? Because this administration, Harry Reid, and a political favor done by Barack Obama, killed the Yucca Mountain storage project. Why does that matter? Because if a neighborhood anywhere in this country doesn't have a place to put its trash, it's not going to build new nuclear reactors. Why does that matter? Because one of the industries that we have up the road, GE Hitachi, we're in the nuclear business here, friends, but more importantly, this is an industry that America created. We're now laggards at number 3 in the world. It ought not to be that way. We have renewable, safe, clean sources of green power, should we choose to use them. Instead, we've allowed the Nuclear Regulatory Commission to hamstring us. And that's with a consequence, and it's a risk to your safety. Thank you.
Mr. Crow, what can we do to increase the development of domestic production of energy sources?
Well, natural gas is selling for about $2 an MCF, 1,000 cubic feet. It's the lowest it's been in about 10 years. If North Carolina had gas wells offshore, I'd be jumping up and down to get them to close them and shut them off. That's not the problem. Actually, Dick Cheney, I think, in this task force did a really good job. We're up to almost 10 million barrels a day. It's supposed to go 3 million more barrels a day. And then when you get Canada's giving us 3.5 million barrels a day, Mexico's 1.2, we're using 1.8. We're so close to independence right here, it's unbelievable. The problem is price fixing. And also with all this genius to increase the production, they also figured out a way to get the price up. And I think that's, going into Libya and here, there, and yonder and taking oil off the market. But really, I would not do anything to do. I was talking to a geologist friend of mine. He's crying because natural gas prices are so low. Oil would be $12.50 a barrel if it was selling on the free market like natural gas is right now. So they're trying to run the small gas producers out of business in Texas right now. But the price fixing is with oil, and oil could be a lot less if we would quit invading countries and taking the oil off the market. Thank you.
Gentlemen, we're going to start. Mr. Pantano, I'm going to ask you to respond first to this question, sir. What are your plans to reform programs such as Social Security and Medicare for the younger generation while still protecting the older generation?
That's such an important question, and the way you phrased it is important. Everybody has heard this expression of the meta-scare tactics of the Democrats. In fact, we had Ronald Reagan do robocalls for us back in the 2010 election. You all remember the $2.5 million of attack ads that Mike McIntyre and Nancy Pelosi ran for him, claiming that I was going to end Social Security and Medicare as you know it. Friends, that tactic has been used against Republicans across the country for more than 30 years. And it's a lie. It's a blatant falsehood because the Democrats don't actually have any real solution to save this entitlement system that we know is broken. Do you know that by 2045, every single dollar that the government collects in tax revenue will go to pay for Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid? That's not a forest ranger. That's not an FBI agent or a Marine. That's all to feed this entitlement structure. Well, there has been a plan out there for some time. Some folks like Newt Gingrich even called it right-wing social engineering. But I have stood with Congressman Paul Ryan. I supported the plan in 2010, and he supported me. He supported our campaign this time around as well. And I stand with that plan. It's a very specific plan. And it says we need to be honest. We need to have those conversations with the third rail of politics. We need to talk about Social Security and the fact that if you are 55 and younger, will you raise your hand? 55 and younger, I'm going to put some of you on the spot. Friends, we are going to have to raise the retirement age for you. And I guarantee you that most of the really young folks here don't even believe that these benefits will be there for them anyway. That's the trust gap that's created. That's our duty to solve. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Crow, what are your plans to reform programs such as Social Security and Medicare for the younger generation while still protecting the older generation?
Well, I have a major problem with calling Social Security an entitlement or a tax. I feel like it's a contribution. Congress just cut Social Security contributions by 2% last year. This has taken $240 billion away from Social Security, which would be going towards the claims. If Social Security does not get the 2%, it is going to become insolvent along with the seniors that go along with it. So the first thing I would do is every chance I got, I would vote to bring these contributions back into the game. And I think that we're making a massive mistake to say anything different than that. This stock market is so totally and completely corrupt. They can run it up and down in a second. So anybody that's planning to take their money and go play the stock market, you know, they might as well be sending it to the banksters. They're going to end up with it. So I think it's important to have it. And actually, what I have read is that Social Security is solvent if you get the money. But when you start taking out $240 billion a year, that guarantees Social Security is insolvent. And there's method in the madness, and why they're allowing it to happen is you know, who knows what. But I don't think that this government, or beyond the government, really cares too much about the people. Thank you.
Mr. Crow, thank you. Senator Rouser, what are your plans to reform programs such as Social Security and Medicare for the younger generation while still protecting the older generation?
Well, that's a very important question. And you know, in every debate, I think it's very important to outline what the problems are. I think one of the problems that we as Republicans have had in addressing this issue is the fact that the rest of the public, many in the public, don't understand that these two programs are unsustainable the way they're currently crafted. We have to sell the case, number one, that Social Security will not be around in the future if we don't reform it, and that Medicare will not be available either. Once we make that case, and once the American people understand that these programs have to be reformed, I think then it's very important, and I commend Paul Ryan and others who are working so diligently on this, then it's very important to lay out what the options are and have that conversation with the American people so that we can build consensus and move forward. That's the way you defeat the Democrat machine that demagogues the issue that prevents us from getting these major reforms achieved. Personally, we need to have options for our younger folks in terms of Social Security and their retirement, and also in terms of structuring Medicare so it's solvent for the future. These are two very important programs for the future of this country and for the future of the citizenry. If we're going to preserve them and protect them, number one, we've got to make the case that they're unsustainable, and they are. And then we've got to lay out the various options and have that dialogue with the American people to figure out how we want to proceed forward to preserve them and protect them in the future.